The basic principle of buoyancy is that an object will float in a fluid if it weighs less than the fluid that it displaces. Basically, an object will float if its density is less than the density of the fluid that it's in. The basic forces acting on an object at equilibrium, that is, neutrally buoyant, can be expressed with this equation, where mg is the force of gravity pulling down on the object, and it's equal and opposite to the buoyant force of the water pushing up on the object, plus any lifting force that the object is generating, whether that's a person treading water or a hydrofoil on a submarine or some sort of boat. When most people tread water, they automatically do a hand motion like this, which we call sculling in water polo, or they'll just do a hand motion like this. Their hands might be together. Either way, they're exerting some sort of a force pushing down on the water, which causes the water to exert an opposite force upwards on them. And that lifting force that they're generating, plus the buoyant force of the water pushing up on them, is enough to keep their head above the water and to counteract the force of gravity pulling down on their body. This is enough to keep the person's face above water so they can breathe and they can tread water. The problem is that in water polo, sometimes we have to do things with our hands outside of the water. So we will hold a ball. Sometimes you're just holding the ball. Sometimes you're putting the ball up like this to fake. Sometimes you're shooting, passing, moving the ball around. Either way, the problem is that your hand, or maybe both hands at some points, are out of the water. This means that your hands can't be used to generate any lifting force. So the only forces that can keep you above water are the buoyant force of the water pushing up on your body and any force that you can generate with the rest of your body, such as your legs. So now I'll show a clip of the way that we tread water in water polo. It's called the egg beater, and the basic motion is that your legs are doing kind of an egg beater pattern where they're forcing water inwards and down, and you just turn continuously, and it pushes down with enough force that the rest of your body stays above water. Here's a clip of me treading water in our pool here at school. I'm using the egg beater method, but in case it's difficult to see exactly what's going on, I've included another clip with an underwater angle that makes it easier to see the leg motions involved. Alright, so a little review of density. Remember, we use the symbol rho for density. It's just equal to an object's mass divided by its volume. So for the test container that I'll be using, this pill bottle with the label removed, its density is equal to its mass divided by its volume. Now because its volume is fairly irregular, has a lot of nooks and crannies, I've gone ahead and used water displacement to find its volume, and it's around 60 milliliters. So if I know that I want to make sure that this bottle is going to float in water, I just want to make sure if its volume is fixed at 60 milliliters, I want to make sure that its mass is less than 60 grams, which would give it a density of less than 1 gram per milliliter, which would cause this bottle to float in water. Alright, so I've gone ahead and made a mark on the bottle from my previous messing around before I actually started this experiment, and I know that that each of these metal bearings weighs around 8.4 grams, so 5 of them should weigh 42 grams, plus the 10 gram mass of the container would be 52. So I know that with 5 of these bearings, the container should float on top of the water in the test tank. So I'll go ahead and drop that, and you can see that the container clearly floats, not by a ton, but it's definitely lighter than the water that it's displacing. Now, if this whole item with 42 grams of bearings and 10 grams of plastic weighs 52 grams total, if I add another bearing, or 2 for good measure, that should put it significantly over 60 grams, which would cause it to sink in the tank. I'll go ahead and drop that in there. You can see that it gently sinks to the bottom. Now, I go ahead and retrieve my container out of the tank. My next goal is to reach neutral buoyancy. So neutral buoyancy is, for this container, comes out to be right where this black mark of the container is, full of water. So I'll take my 5 ball bearings, which brings the total mass to 52 grams, and add water with this spray bottle until the level comes right about to this black mark. Cap it off, and then I'll go ahead and drop this in the test tank, and we'll see how it does. So as you can see, the balance is extremely close to neutral. This is just a tad more buoyant than proper neutral buoyancy, though really, look at that, now it's actually sinking. So this is just about at neutral buoyancy right now. Another interesting concept is the skip shot. When performing a skip shot, the player steps up high out of the water and throws the ball at a downward angle so that it strikes the water between them and the goal. The ball skips off the water like a stone on a pond, because as the ball pushes the water out of the way and exerts a downward force on the water responds with an equal and opposite upwards force. The ball's vertical velocity is reversed from downward to upward, while its horizontal velocity is reduced by hydrodynamic drag. This drag causes the ball's velocity when leaving the water to be around 80% of its velocity when entering the water. This is why you can't skip a rock forever, but you can skip one 88 times, which is the world record.